What's up, everybody? This is Ray. Welcome to the Road to the Million podcast. This is episode number 6 already. And today I have a very special guest. I actually decided to bring one of my members inside my private mastermind group. That member joined about a year ago, and she's on the way to making her first million. So I wanted to show you guys the behind the scenes. How was it like for someone other than me, trying to make it out there? So Nathalie, welcome.
Thank you. Hey, everyone.
Good to have you here. So Nathalie, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself? Just a little background. So who are you? What do you do? What's your story?
Yes. So I'm Nathalie. I just recently started a business in coaching for students specifically. So I had my bachelor's in psychology. I went on and pursued my master's degree, but at the same time, I wasn't fulfilled with what I was doing. There was something missing. And I knew that entrepreneurship was always in the back of my mind. So I was like, let's do it. Now is the time. So this is really what made me want to start my business. And I realized that there's so much to do in the world of coaching and in the world of academia for students, with students. So that's what really pushed me to kind of start my business.
That's really nice. And yeah, there's opportunity literally everywhere, right?
Exactly.
So why did you decide to join, the Road to the Million?
Good question. So I was at a place in my career. Like I said, I finished my master's and I was just like, okay, how do I start a business? How does one start a business, right? And I kind of looked around and, I kind of knew you from before. I knew what you were doing. And I was like, I need the support, I need the guidance from someone who has done this before, who has done their business. And you had created the community just for that, right? You had members who were going through the same thing, who were also starting their business. I was like, I need that kind of environment to be able to grow and to be able to, either concretize my business idea and just make it grow from there.
Right. How did you know I was legit? Because there's probably a lot of people that can help you out there, right? How did you make sure I wasn't a scam or something?
Well, to be honest, I think during our call, and I followed you for a while. I know you from beforehand. I've known you for years before. And I saw you start your business from scratch. I saw you kind of take your business from what it was at a beginning, where it was just an idea. We used to speak about it a lot, to where your business is right now. And I was like, okay, well, I want to learn from someone who has done that.
Right. So no textbook knowledge.
No.
Someone who actually did it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. A lot of people, they just need to see someone do it before them.
Exactly. And
that's all they need.
Exactly. And, I come from also from the world of academia where school is important, where you need to learn. So it was kind of against how I used to think before, but it's so funny and ironic how in real life, this is the method that works best.
So what would you say is the difference between traditional school and the entrepreneurship mindset? Because you lived both, right?
Yes, I lived both. With school, I'd say, and I believe they're trying to change it a bit right now, but I believe it's very theory focused. So you learn a lot of theory, but you're not out there on the field. You're not testing that knowledge. It's you learn, and the testing is, well, you do exams and you test your knowledge that way. But when you're on the field, that experiential learning is so much more powerful because you get direct feedback on the spot from what you're doing. So that's, I think, way more powerful.
That's so true. And, since you started your business, how many experiments did you try?
Oh, God, I can't even count. Honestly, right? I can't even count.
I remember when you joined. Nathalie joined. When did you join, actually? Was
I joined
about a year ago? A
little more. January 2022.
January, so a little bit more over a year ago.
Yes.
And when you joined, I remember you were a little confused, right?
Very confused.
You had a plan. You had an idea.
I had an idea, but it wasn't. It was very gray. I had a big idea, but to start a business, you need a plan. You need something specific. Okay, well, what are you offering? People need to know what you're doing. Because then it's just a cloud and, it's nothing real.
But you still did the jump and joined the community and wanted to learn from me and join everybody else, right?
Yes.
Even though you didn't have all the answers. Mm-hmm. You had a concept, right?
Yes.
That's why I always tell people, you should never wait to have all the answers because you will never, that day will never come, right? You should As soon as you know that you want something deep down, you should just go for it. And then usually answers just unfold, themselves on your journey because of experimentation, right?
Yeah.
Like how much did your idea change?
Oh, so
since
much.
I remember your first idea.
So much. Oh, my first idea was nowhere where it is right now. And you mentioned experimentation, but it's also through like discussing ideas with people. It's not just, of course, trying things on the field, but it's also sharing ideas like, oh, this is a good idea. Oh, but no, wait, why? And that's what you get with the community as well. Like you see what everyone's doing, you see what everyone's going through, and you kind of get that feedback too.
Yeah. And you develop that kind of way of thinking of like solution oriented. Like you're good at fixing problems.
Yeah.
Right now, like in every masterminds we have every Monday morning, right? We have a group of people, everybody's there. And sometimes people have problems, right? And then everybody's kind of like jumping in and trying to like offer help, and it's very helpful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the power of a community. You have to surround yourself with good people. And I guess that's why you joined as well, part of why you joined, right? You wanted a solid network of people. And so what changed, in your life since you made that commitment last year? If you talk a little in your personal life, like what changed since you made that move?
A lot has changed. I'd say the one thing is really confidence in not just like what I'm doing, but in my ability to do great things. Like at first I joined, I was like, yeah, I can do it, but it's by seeing it where I'm like, okay, no, like I can actually do it. The difference is it's probably small, but it's there. Like just the confidence of you doing what you're doing and you having this kind of support, that was the biggest change that I saw. And I'm more willing to take risks. Like I'm more willing to do big jumps. And I'm less concerned with what people think of me.
Oof, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's a really big one because I was always super self-conscious, super aware of like what people might think, people's judgments. But, when I started doing things, like actually doing things, stretching myself out and getting out of my comfort zone, I was like, who cares what people think?
Right.
It doesn't matter.
How many people do you think that are watching us today have the same problem? They have a lot of potential. They're afraid because of maybe people are going to judge them. They're going to criticize them, but they do have potential. They have something, right? They want to do it, but they're just waiting for years. How many people do you think have that problem?
I'd say everyone.
Everyone.
Because there's so much wasted potential like in the world. And if just people believed in themselves a bit more, if just people kind of let go of all the negative surroundings and people's, the fear of people's judgments, I feel like they can go so much more far in their lives and achieve so much more.
Yeah. Once people realize that basically it doesn't matter at all, like really it doesn't matter at all. Like people are concerned with so many different things in their life. The last thing they're thinking about is you or me, Sometimes we're like so selfish, we're so self-centered, I should say, and then we just think the world revolves around us.
Yeah.
But it's not the case. Like you could do 20 different mess ups. People might and then they just 2 minutes later they forgot about it.
Exactly.
So it's like it really doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You should just shut down the world and just focus on your stuff. So how was it like to create something from thin air, your business concept, and then to actually charge money for it? Do you remember your first transaction?
Oh yeah. I remember my first transaction.
How much
like
was
it was yesterday. It was the first basically payment. The first installment was $85.
Okay. How did it feel?
So I was like, I'm actually running a business right now. Like I actually have a business right now. It felt really good, really rewarding, fulfilling.
Yeah. Because a lot of people, they have concepts and ideas, and but like once you actually do a transaction, now it's getting real.
Now
the money's
shit's getting
in the
real.
bank, right?
Exactly.
It's getting real, right? Nice. And now you will work with multiple clients. You got new clients coming in.
Yes.
Nice. And you recently opened a new concept.
I did.
Can you talk about it a little bit?
So, just as a background, my business is called Empowered Minds. I have the coaching aspect to it, but I also came up with a hiking community, a hiking group. It's currently a hiking group on Instagram. And so I've always been interested in the outdoors and, being connected with nature and really being more active in that way. So, I talked to a couple of people. A lot of people seemed interested. So I was like, why don't I just create an online community for this kind of thing, for hiking specifically? So I did that. And honestly, it's been super promising so far. People are really into it, and I think it could really be something big eventually.
That's good. You started recently, right?
Oh yeah, it's been
couple months.
Couple months, 2-3 months.
That's good. And how much did you invest, to grow that group so far?
So far, $80.
$80?
$80.
That's it?
That's it.
And how many new members did you get in your group?
I have, we are currently at 51 members.
Wow, that's not good. That's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
With only $80.
Only $80.
That's good. Advertising is very important as well, right?
Yes.
A lot of people, like, they have this business concept idea or something to offer, but nobody hears about it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you have to put yourself out
How
there.
much were you spending per day on that ad?
I was spending $3 per day.
$3 a day.
$3.
And how many requests were you getting every day?
About 4 or 5 at
Wow.
least.
If you do the math, guys, like, imagine you spend $3 a day on ads, and then you have like 3 to 5 new people interested at least in what you have to offer. That's good return, right?
Awesome return.
That's great. That's great. So that's good. And I have a lot of questions I could ask you. I want to know a little bit more about, the future, because it's been about a year. You joined the Road to the Million.
Yes.
It's not a get rich quick scheme,
Nope.
as people know. How confident are you in yourself that you will actually reach your goal, financial freedom, within the next maybe 3 to 5 years?
300%. I am honestly, I'm probably too optimistic even, but I'm just out there. Like, I know I can do it. I know
Because you had a taste of it.
Yeah.
Like, you actually created something, you tested, people paid you for it. Now they're paying you more for the same thing,
Exactly.
right? You're like trying different pricing plans and like you're developing new services. And so, yeah, it's just the beginning, right?
Exactly.
When was the first transaction?
The first transaction was in September.
Okay.
September.
So it wasn't too long ago, maybe
No,
6 months
A couple
ago.
of months ago. Yeah. And
That's
since
good.
then I've had a couple more. So
That's
it's
good.
promising.
I love it. I love it. So what would you say to someone who's actually, on the edge of maybe starting their business or looking for mentorship? Because you were in that position, right?
Yes.
A lot of people were. So what's your message to people out there, like, who want to do big things, but they're kind of like holding themselves back?
Do it. I don't want to, I'm quoting Nike here, just do it. Like, to be honest, there's no reason for you to hold yourself back. Like, you are the only person that's limiting yourself from achieving great things or like going for what you want. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Like, you're the only person that's going to do this for yourself and for your family and others too. But, you have to make the jump. So I'd say do it. And trust me, it's the most rewarding experience ever. Like, I've been through school, worked so many jobs, but I've never experienced something more fulfilling or more rewarding than entrepreneurship.
Imagine not doing it and then like you wake up 10 years down the road.
Oh, that's my biggest fear.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Me too. Like I'm afraid of time. I am. I'm like, time is passing by. Like, if I don't go for my dreams today, if I don't work hard for what I really want today, like, I'm just going to waste my life.
Exactly.
I don't want that. I think it's the biggest fear
Yeah.
a lot of people have.
Something that I always remind myself of is, like, imagine you're on your deathbed, right? You're dying. Do you want to look back at your life and be like, oh man, I should have done this. I should have done that. It's like, no, I'm going to do these things. I want to be on my deathbed and be like, I did everything I could to be the best person I can be. Like, that's one of my main drives. Like, I really think of it every time I'm about to do something difficult or do something risky. I'm like, okay, Nat in the future would be like, yeah, I should have done that. So that's when I just jump.
That's great. Absolutely. Like, the earlier, the better, right? Earlier,
Exactly.
the better. Good. So what were some of the challenges that you faced, in your first year in the Mastermind, ups and downs? What was difficult?
So to me, honestly, what was difficult is really to get rid of, the fear of being judged. At first, especially because, when you start as an entrepreneur, you have to be on social media, you have to be everywhere, you have to get the attention. And like just simply filming yourself and posting it online for everyone to see is not an easy thing to do, although it might seem easy when you like just see the content. You're like, oh, she just sat there, filmed herself, and then posted it. But
I remember you were very shy.
I was super shy.
Putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. For everybody watching, put the thumbs up for Nathalie. She's super comfortable in front of the camera. She just needed a little push. And a lot of you are probably, in the same position as Nathalie. You should just try, film yourself and see. It's not that hard, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
You realize that it's like it's so much harder and so much more difficult when it's in your mind. But like once you do it, you're like, oh, that was it. All
Yeah,
right.
that's it.
Yeah.
It's easy. Most of us, we overcomplicate everything.
Yeah.
It's like life is very simple. Even business is very simple. Like
Yeah.
you saw it. Like making money is not that difficult. Like you had jobs before,
Yeah.
normal paying jobs, right? And now you're transacting with your business. You can basically set your own prices.
Yeah.
You can set your own subscriptions. You can play around, test things, and then you do some math. If I have like 100 people that pay me, $100 a month,
Yeah.
that's 10,000 a month. Like you can play around and you can actually see it's possible.
It is. It's
Right.
simple numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what questions do you have for me? Because, you've been in the community for over a year. Do you have anything, you would like to ask me from your perspective?
That's a good question. If I have questions, what was your biggest, I want to say fear, but the challenge that you've overcome in your business?
Yeah. Overall, because I have multiple businesses, right?
Yes.
Do you have a business specifically,
Specifically?
or overall?
Well, let's talk the road to the million.
Yeah.
What was your biggest challenge when you either created the business while you're running the business? Like, what's your biggest challenge?
That's an excellent question. So when I started that road to the million, that's why you're here today.
Yes.
I had challenges just like, any business you start. Now, I did have prior experience because this is not my first rodeo, right? Like I had a business before for like 7 years. So, but I had challenges because every time you start a new business, it's a new concept. It's a new market. You have to test the waters. Are people looking for something like that? So that's what I always tell people. Like if you want to be successful in business, like rule number 1 is, do you have a hungry crowd of people like waiting for what you have to offer, like throwing themselves at you basically, right? So the road to the million, my goal when I started that community was to create everything I wish I had when I started my first business. And now we can see the benefits, right? Like you guys are all like brothers and sisters in that community. Like we spend time together each week.
Yeah.
Bonds are getting stronger. We do business together in the network. So it's very, very nice. So I wish I had something like that, talk about money, talk about challenges, talk about brainstorming ideas. So, but I did have a lot of challenges as well because it's a new concept. So even me, when I started this, I was like, okay, like I, built a successful business, right? Does it mean I can actually help someone build a successful business? That was literally how should I say that? Like a limiting belief that I had myself for a long time. Because it's a big kind of like claim to put out there that, hey, I'm going to create millionaires. Like I'm going to create people who are going to make a lot of money. Like where's the proof? Like, can you actually do that?
Yeah.
The only proof I had was myself. I was like, if I did it and I figured out how to create stuff that people buy and make a lot of money with it, well, I should be able to teach at least something to these people. So my challenge first was to actually make sure that thing is going to work out. Now I'm seeing over time that you guys are growing and I'm happy. It is an experiment. Like I'm not even afraid to say it. Like, the road to the million is an experiment in the sense of like, I'm trying this. I want to see how it's going to turn out. I have more and more confidence over time because I'm seeing you guys build businesses, have different members being successful. They have their own clients. Some of them quit their jobs. Now they're just doing full-time business. So I had that belief in myself that there was a need for that. So I just went for it. But I wasn't sure 100%, even if it's my second business. That fear never goes away. It could be your 10th business, your 15th business. You're always going to have that little fear inside of you that, is it really going to work out?
Yeah.
Is it really? Like, am I really going to get paid?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, anything that you start new, like it could be a new sport, it could be anything new, like you're going to have that imposter syndrome where you're like, okay, well, am I good enough for this? Or can I actually do this?
Yeah, the am I good enough? I think a lot of people struggle with it as well.
Yeah,
right?
very much.
And one thing one of my mentors once told me was, Ray, as long as you're one step ahead of someone else, you can be of help.
And you told me that when we first started, and
Yeah.
that helped me a lot too. I'm like, okay, well, I've done work on myself, but what does, how does that make me qualified to teach someone? You're like, and you told me exactly that. You told me, Nat, if you're one step ahead, there's always people that you can help.
That's all you
Always.
need.
Yeah.
All you need. And see like how it is important to have mentors. Like someone taught me this and then I transferred that knowledge to Nat. Now she's probably eventually going to transfer that to someone else.
100%.
That's all you need. Just one step ahead. You don't need to, if we go back to academia, right? Like usually the traditional way is like are you qualified to teach? Like, what's your certification, right? Like, have you been doing this for 5 years?
Yeah.
Now I can listen to you. No, like nowadays, like people start YouTube channels or like TikTok accounts, and then you know how many people talk about like dating on TikTok? Like, this is my like, what do you base yourself on? Like, it's like you went on one like horrible date, and now you're like a dating expert. Like, I know what you guys shouldn't do. You know? It's literally like, anyways, yeah, there's good and bad, but as long as you have you're one step ahead, you can always be of help. So for me, when I started the road to the million, I was like, I'm definitely a few steps ahead. So if I look back, I remember when I did my first 100,000, my first client, like my first complaint, my first video on social media, my first ad on Facebook. I've done all of these, so I can shortcut your learning curve, so you get there faster.
Exactly.
Right. Imagine how hard it would be like to do that all of like yourself. It's difficult, right?
It's difficult. It is.
Yeah.
Like now we're literally immersed in the environment. Like we get like I said, the direct feedback, and you're in the environment. Like you have no choice but to grow, but to try difficult things. Like it's different when you're in it.
Yeah.
Completely.
And talk about accountability, right?
Yes.
Like, how would you feel if you show up to the mastermind meeting and you're not doing shit?
You feel like shit. You feel like complete shit. You're like, okay, well, I said I was going to do this last week. Then what do I look like if I'm just here? And I'm like, well, guys, I didn't do it. You feel like shit. Like your ego takes a hit.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
You don't want everybody to, like, you don't want to be the last one.
In the
right?
back. Oh,
in the back.
Especially if you're competitive. Like,
Yeah.
You need to at least like be doing something every week or like bring something to the table.
Yeah. So that's the power of community. And I would even say that's the power of in-person community, right? Because, having a group chat is something, but let me have your take on this. What do you think about the in-person meetings? Do you think that's good? Do you think like there's benefit to meeting everybody in person once a week? Do you like that?
100% to get to meet, because I feel like you can't create these bonds or like learn that much if it's online, because when it's online, you're always very, very distracted. You have probably other tabs open. If you're at home, you probably have your pet, you probably have, your significant other, your kids or whatever. You always have this distraction. Like you're not in it. Your mind is not completely focused. So it's definitely a plus.
Cool. I definitely agree, because everything, today is literally YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Like, Discord groups and like Telegram channels, WhatsApp groups. That's all people do. It's not bad. It's a good compliment. Like we have a group chat. We use it sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's mainly like the in-person connection, the in-person networking, in-person feedback, the energy is completely different.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's a big advantage that we have here. Great.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, you said before, like you're making a big claim, right? That
Yeah.
you're going to make millionaires.
Yeah.
How can you yourself, be accountable for such a big claim?
That's definitely a phenomenal question, right? I mean, the short answer is I cannot be accountable for someone else.
Yeah.
It's money, right? Like I can show you how to make it. I can be by your side while you're on the journey. But if you're not putting in the work, if you're being lazy, if you're not listening to me, I cannot guarantee that, right? But I've learned that over the years that when you make big claims like these, usually a portion of these people will reach it. It's not always everybody. Sometimes it is, but it's rarely everybody. But there's a portion that will reach it. So that's why I'm confident. But yeah, it's impossible to I cannot be accountable for someone else, right? It's a very difficult thing to do, right? I cannot make you a millionaire by. I mean, are you waking up early? Are you doing your things?
Yeah.
Are you doing the cold calls? Are you doing the ads? Are you doing your, I should say, TikToks and like Instagram reels, right? So I think the role of a mentor is to guide you. He's like walking by your side, but you have to take action. Like you have to do it yourself. And the reason why I built that system that way, I could have done an online course, right? Here's exactly how you can make your first million, but it wouldn't work. The reason why is because there's no community. There's no accountability. Yeah. See, like we're growing and we're getting to know each other. There's like a bond growing like year after year with all the members because I set it up that way. It's not just information. Like the information is important, but it's not everything. I literally asked myself like all the questions when I was developing that project. Like, okay, how can I like maximize the chances of everybody becoming actually millionaires? Like I want to create millionaires. How do I do it? Okay, well, most people, if you give them information, they consume it, they don't take action. How do I fix that? I'll make them show up every week in person. Right? So I started just going like that step by step to creating that perfect masterpiece still in the works, still optimizing it. Now we're doing like travel together, like we're doing retreats.
Awesome.
We have one coming, in 2 months. So it's developing over time. But you always have to ask yourself, like, are you really solving a problem? Like, are you actually helping your target market?
Yeah.
Because a video information is not what people need today. They have enough of that.
There's so much out there. There's so much like video information out there, and people come, how do you even go through that like in a structured way? But you talked about, you of course you're there to guide us as a mentor. So how do you know if a person is or if a person has what it takes to become an entrepreneur, to make their first million?
That's a great question. So it is very difficult. And just like I said, it's an experiment for me. It was new. So I accepted a bunch of people, when I first opened.
Yeah.
And then I accepted more people. I accept about 5 new members every year right now. And, to my surprise, I was, judging people a little bit because I had no idea, right? So I would look at my members and be like, okay, this guy seems like he has potential. This guy seems like I'm not sure about him. Maybe, I'm not sure, right? I was literally like that. I was looking at all the members. I was like trying to guess, like, do they have what it takes? And time tells everything. And I was wrong about a lot of people. Like, I had some people in the community, I was like, this person is just going to kill it. And then they just proved me wrong. And I had some people, I was like, I'm not sure, maybe. And then they proved me wrong. So it's a great, like, phenomenon that I just looked at, explored. And I was like, damn, I'm learning so much. And, like, the lesson I learned with that, I would say, is just time tells everything. So you have to be patient. Just like in a relationship, right? Like, you want to try to get to know someone. You can't know if that person is the right person for you after a few months. Usually after like 12 to 18 months, you start to have a feel, right? Like,
Exactly.
okay, because you can see patterns over time,
Yeah.
not just over like 2-3 meetings, right? So yeah, it was a pretty interesting experiment to kind of try to predict, okay, this person's going to make it, this person's not going to make it. It's difficult, but usually, the way you guys joined the community was through a Zoom interview, right?
Yes.
It was a pretty long interview, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours for some people. And I try to ask key questions to try to see, first of all, if the person has commitment. Because if the person doesn't have a solid business idea, I don't even care. You joined, you didn't have a solid business idea. A lot of people joined with no idea at all. Do they have a business today?
Yeah.
They all do, right?
They all do.
They all do. And it's great because I like let them in because of the attitude, the commitment, if they're willing to invest in the long term and to stick with us in the long term. Because if you give up, you're not going to make it. You just have to be patient and eventually everything's going to work out.
Yeah. You spoke about attitude.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, what kind of attitude do you think it takes to be a successful entrepreneur?
I would say the most important attitude you should have, I like to call it the whatever it takes attitude. Just whatever it takes. Like, you need to get something done, just do whatever it takes to make it happen. For me, attitude is result driven. Result driven means that you focus on results and not only the actions. Like, actions are good, but you have to look at results and try to reach some goals, right? So you just texting people or cold calling people, these are actions, right? Like, you're calling people. It's not enough. Like, yes, you should do that, but you should focus on results. So for me, having a good attitude, you have to have this whatever it takes attitude. You have to have a lot of accountability. Yes. I love accountability. I think a lot of people today don't have accountability at all. So you have to be able to be like so raw with yourself. Like, you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and be like, today you did like shit. And you have to be like fully honest. Yeah. Like, you had a conversation with a client, you have to be like, I fucked up. Like, 0. F. If it was back in school, yes. F, right? Was it? Yeah, F is the worst. So you have to be so honest with yourself. I think honesty, accountability is real the core.
Yeah.
Because if you're like deeply honest with yourself, like every time you make a mistake, you're going to look yourself and be like, I fucked up. This allows you to correct yourself next time. If you brush it off and you're like, it wasn't my fault, well, you're not going to fix it, right?
Exactly.
So on the long term, if you have that attitude, well, inevitably, eventually, you're just going to become so good. You're just going to become great. You're going to become unstoppable because you take accountability. You're able to face the world as it is, to look at the world as it is, not try to kind of like sugarcoat it and always like making excuses for stuff and be like, no, like I lost that friend because I did this, this, and that was my fault. That's freaking hard for people to do.
Yeah.
Same thing in business. You know, I've been running ads for 3 months. I've been doing TikToks for 6 months. It's not working, probably because my content sucks. You know, people don't care. Let's start again. Let's try something else. Like when you have that attitude, you can't fail. At some point, you will make it. When I started doing TikToks for my education company, for the first 3 to 6 months, I was getting 0 results. You remember? I showed you the results. And now we're blowing up. We get hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views, but it took me consistency. So yeah, attitude is everything.
Everything. 100% agree on that.
What would you say? What would you add to that?
What would I add to that?
Or do you fully agree?
I fully agree. Is there anything I'd add to that? So honesty is a big one, to kind of be real with yourself. And be willing to learn. Be willing to get feedback and not be offended by feedback.
Oh yeah, it's a big one.
Like you have to be open to, you know, learning and kind of be guided into something that maybe you haven't thought of. And just be willing to receive the feedback without getting hurt or taking it personally. Like,
Do you think a lot of people are a little too soft today?
People are very soft today. Like, not to generalize, but people are offended very quickly. They take everything personally, and it's tough to just have a conversation about real things, real subjects.
Yeah, you can't go to someone and be like, "You suck." Yeah, you can't do that anymore, right? You're gonna get canceled. Maybe not that way.
Maybe not that way,
but yeah. You know, sometimes that's what people need. You know, they just need a punch in the face. Like, really, just a wake-up call. That's what you call it, right?
Exactly.
They say usually adults don't change too much. You know, when you think maybe about like our parents, grandparents, people are a little older, it's hard to change after a certain age. And they say usually people only change through massive trauma. So something crazy happens and then maybe there's like a change. So that's a punch in the face, right?
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes people need to toughen up a little and just to like be more tough.
Yeah, take things as they are, like for the truth, what it is, not like sugar coated or like just face things as they are.
100%. The last topic I want to cover.
Yes.
I want you to talk about being. How is it for you to be a woman in the space of business? 'Cause that's a good subject.
That's a very, very good subject. A woman in business. So I'd say it's different, but I'm a person who believes that women have so much to bring to the business world. Like, you don't have to do it in the way that men do it, right?
Interesting.
So men are very, it's like a kind of how people portrayed business is like it's a pool of sharks, right? But I feel like as a woman, we do things maybe a bit differently. Like, we don't need to be like that. And just to me, or my mindset at least, it's like I'm here to bring good to the world. I'm here to make an impact. And like as a woman, for sure, you need to think about all these things and of course have the right habits. But I think it's different.
I do agree. I think there's a difference. And I like what you said. This is the first time I actually hear it. You said women bring like a different touch to business. Like they navigate the business world maybe a little different.
Even very differently, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know, like, man, you're like, okay, I'll wake up at like 4 a.m. I'll do this. I'm like, chill. Chill. You know, like I don't think it's necessary to do that and have that necessarily very intense routine, but that's how men are. But I think like as women, we do it differently and we have a different approach, but that doesn't mean that we don't have our place in business. And that doesn't mean that we can't be successful in business.
Of course.
To each their own. And I believe there's place for everyone, women and men.
Absolutely. And it's a big conversation. You know, some people say like women shouldn't be in business or like they're not meant to be in business. I don't fully agree with that. I think anybody could be in business. I really like how you said it. Like they do it differently. Exactly.
It's not the same. And your audience is probably not going to be the same. Your clients are probably not going to be the same. Like there are people who relate to what you do, and there are people who relate what I do, and we do things, somewhat differently. And there's place for everyone. There's people for everyone. There's so much people on this earth who can benefit from what we have to offer, men or women, and who resonate with how we do things. And I feel like we have so much place in the world for women to do things.
Would you say you would care as much as men about being super successful and making like the most amount of money? Do you think that's like your main goal, or is it like just making good and being comfortable?
No, I want to be good, be comfortable. But I'm not aiming to be a billionaire or, I have a goal in mind and I'm like, fine, I'm good if I get there, but I don't aim for that extravagant
It's not the
lifestyle.
goal. It's not like the goal to make the most amount of money.
No, that's not my goal.
Okay. See, probably because you have other goals in your life, right?
Yeah. Like, at some point I want to have kids. I want to have a family, and not that it's going to get in my way, but to me, it's definitely possible to run a business and still have a family and kids. But to me, that's also a priority. To me, that's also something that I want to give my time to, that I want to, let's say, invest my time in, nurture, to grow. Like, that's a very, very important aspect in my life. And I believe that for a lot of women, it is as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you say like family first, business second?
Yes.
Definitely, right?
And I feel like it's going to probably be a more later.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm very focused on the business. It's just starting out.
Yeah.
So family is not necessarily my current priority, but it is eventually a life priority.
It will happen at some point. So
it will happen at some point. And when it does, like, to me, it's number one.
Good.
And
good.
But I don't think that gets in the
that.
way of building a business.
No, you can still build a business. It's just that your time is allocated a little different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I still think you can reach financial freedom
absolutely.
still while having a family and
Absolutely.
that being your main priority. So
what do you think about the boss babe movement?
about the what movement?
The boss babe movement?
Yes, the boss babe movement. Oh my God. Well,
What do you think about that movement?
I mean, I like it. It's so powerful. It kind of really like empowers women to go for that. And, either women in the workplace or starting their business. I think it's great. But at the same time, I feel like women have to be careful. Women have to be careful because, like, we've been kind of fed this idea of like your career. But at the same time, like, is it the most fulfilling thing for you? Like, take a step back and analyze it. Like, is this actually the most fulfilling thing, to just focus on my career and then forget about my family or forget about my other priorities in life? So yes, be a boss, but don't forget your actual priorities, your actual values in your life and what you want to prioritize.
I love it. Great. Do you have other questions for me? Anything else you think we should discuss?
No, that's it for me.
That was great.
Yeah.
Good having you here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So everybody, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video, like and subscribe. And if you would love to reach out to Nathalie, learn more about what she does. Nathalie, you want to plug your stuff a little bit? Where can people find you?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram, natalie.bedrosian, and on TikTok. And that's where you can see all my content and everything I do.
Love it. Thank you, Nathalie. Everybody, I'll see you next time. Peace out.